it was not that he used the word Swaraj for the first time. There were others who were talking about Swaraj also. But the significance of Dadabhai using it from the presidential platform of the Congress and saying that our object is Swaraj is that the significance is that it gets defined as a national objective from the platform, from the presidential platform of the Congress for the first time. And many people do not realize that when Gandhiji starts the salt satyagraha, at that time many were surprised how is he chosen the question of salt duty to. Dadabhai has said as early as 1871 that the salt tax must go. So, this is what Dadabhai is saying as early as 1871. Gandhiji calls himself a disciple of Dadabhai. And being a disciple, he has read all this. So when he takes up salt, it is something which is in his mind for a long time. In fact, in 1919 or thereabouts, sometime then, he appoints two persons. He designates two young persons, relatively young persons, to study the salt tax. And he writes to the Commissioner of Excise and Salt that I have asked these two persons to study the salt tax, and you will please make available all documents and data to them for this purpose.
Welcome to Indie Journal. We have a very special guest today. He is Mr. Anil Nauriya. Mr. Nauriya is a senior practicing lawyer in Supreme Court, but that is not his only identity. He is basically a student of history and economics. He has published many articles on economics, and he was a fellow between 2013 and 15 of Nehru Memorial Library, and he had been his special interest is about the freedom struggle that happened during the 20th century in India and South Africa. So welcome, Mr. Nauriya. And of late, he had been giving series of lectures on Dadabhai Naoroji and Mahatma Gandhi in various parts of Maharashtra. So in that relation, he had been in Pune. So we thought that we should invite him to the Indie Journal studio, and he is here. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah. So my first question is this about Dadabhai's legacy that you want to highlight through the series of lectures, or that what you are talking of. So how do you see Dadabhai's legacy as such?
Dadabhai Naoroji, recently, only recently in September, it was 200 years since his birth. And his legacy is vast, and it encompasses constitutional matters, it encompasses economic matters, it encompasses political matters, it encompasses social matters, it encompasses linguistic matters. On all of these and many more, he had so many aspects to his personality. He was a professor of math. He was one of the earliest, perhaps the first professor of mathematics in India. And he taught mathematics at Elphinstone College in the middle of the 19th century. We haven't even looked yet at his mathematical contribution. But it is his mathematical skills and aptitude that enabled him to examine, or which must have made it easier for him to examine so effortlessly the economic relation and the accounting relation between colonial Britain and India, which he critiqued so effectively in a series of pamphlets, articles, writings, culminating and speeches in India and in England, including in the House of Commons in Britain after his election. to the British Parliament in 1892. All these writings contain such trenchant critiques of what the British were doing here.
In fact, he was the first to point out the kind of exploitation that Britishers are doing. And taking a cue from that, I suppose Ranade and Gokhale and others later on explored on that and talked about that and went on that.
Well, you see, there were many people writing, but Dadabhai is one of the earliest
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have
yeah. Yes.
started this.
He was pioneer.
Because,
kind of.
yes, and he's, when there was this famine in Orissa in 1866 onwards, then Dadabhai in those days was in England. He was coming and going. And he started investigating the causes of the fragility of life in the Indian countryside. Why is the life of the Indian peasant so fragile that a little economic misfortune results in a wave of deaths? And once he started looking into this, he went deep into the matter, studied the per capita income estimates are computed by him. The earliest estimates are by him, because in those days there was not even systematic data.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, sorry to interrupt you, but what was his source material? How did he source those things?
He,
especially like even today, Orissa is supposed to be a backward state. I mean, information coming out of Orissa is very less. In that 1860s we are talking of, how did he source that information? Where
he
from?
went into detail of crops, crop production,
Crop pattern, crop
production, pricing.
Okay.
Then he compared it with the cost of living of the average wage laborer in a particular province. So,
Yeah.
if you see his work, that famous work, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, he has tables showing how much it costs for an agricultural laborer, to a male, to buy a dhoti, how much it costs to,
Yeah.
each separate
Yeah,
item
yeah.
he has computed.
Right.
Then he has done the similar thing for women,
Yes.
where he even includes costs of their hairdressing,
Right.
how much it would cost for them to dress their hair, how much it would cost, how much their footwear would cost.
Okay.
All that he has computed. And then for child labor also, he has computed what these people are actually getting and what their cost is. And all that work you will find in Poverty and British India. I come from Dehradun, Uttarakhand, although my work is in Delhi, the courts. But in Uttarakhand, there is a engineering college, Roorkee. He even computed, worked out, listed how many graduates are coming out of that Roorkee college, how many of them are Indian. Once they graduate, what jobs are they getting? He gives names of the persons who have graduated, and then he traces out where they are working, what job they have got. So his work is unique and it is unparalleled, and I don't think there is anything to compare with it. Of course, in his time and later, there were younger to him. There were people like Ramesh Chandra Dutt, whose contribution is no less. And in fact, there is G.V. Joshi, and there were others. M.G. Ranade is a major figure. So, but this whole range of writers, they changed the conception that we had of our relation with Britain. And the most important point which Dadabhai Naoroji emphasized was the distinction between the economic drain which Britain was causing and the earlier ruling dispensations in India. Because he made the point that suppose you had an earlier marauder who came. He marauded some wealth, they marauded some wealth and went off. the economy regenerated after some time. Or there were others who came and settled down here and kept ruling. They merged into society. But the British were the first who remained alien in the sense that they were always extracting a stream of resources from here.
Right.
It was not a one-time marauding.
Right.
It was a stream, a continual stream that was being extracted, revenue and so on. So the taxation rates, he studied all these things, and you'll find all these studies in poverty and un-British rule in India. The important point here is the distinction he makes between earlier ruling dispensations and the British. And this came to define our nationalism, because then we understood what is India.
Right.
Who are the rulers who were alien to India and who were those who became part of India.
Right.
So his studies actually came to define the whole notion of Indianness. What is India?
Right.
And that notion was imbibed by our national movement.
Yeah. And that was later on carried forward by Indian National Congress
Yes.
in great length. And as well as Mahatma Gandhi also took it forward. And he has a special relationship with Dadabhai or Dadaji.
Yes.
And you are talking about that also in your lectures. So can you elaborate on that? I mean, what was the relationship like?
Well, you see, when Gandhiji was in South Africa, he had just gone to South Africa in 1893. By that time, Dadabhai had been elected to the British Parliament in 1892. And in 1893, Dadabhai was also president of the Lahore session of the Indian National Congress. So, in 1894, when Gandhiji was in South Africa, there was a franchise legislation which was proposed there, which restricted the rights of Indians who were there. So, at that time, there is a letter from Gandhiji, the first letter which is on record, extracts from it are on record, where Gandhiji says to Dadabhai that I am young, I am inexperienced, and there is this vast problem here in South Africa which has to be dealt with, and I need your guidance and advice. And he says, I am prone to making mistakes because I am young. So if you give me your advice, I'll receive that advice. That advice will be received as from a father to his son.
Uh-huh.
And you know, this is something which Gandhiji really feels, because he repeats many times later on that Dadabhai was like a father to me. And there is more to it than just this, you know, because the age difference between Dadabhai and Gandhiji is 44 years.
Yeah, Gandhiji must be around 24 years,
he was,
1894.
Gandhiji is born in
1869.
Dadabhai is born in 1825.
Right.
So the difference is 44 years.
Correct.
And incidentally, the age difference between between Gandhiji and his own father, Gandhiji's own father, is 47 years.
Achha.
So it's
almost like a father figure.
He is a father
like
figure
father only,
to
right?
Gandhi. Gokhale is like an elder brother. The age difference between Gopal Krishna Gokhale and Gandhiji is not that much. So Gokhale, he says, is my political guru in that sense.
Yes.
But he looks at Dadabhai with awe, like a like a father. So and then throughout his stay in South Africa, there's a continual stream of letters from Gandhiji to Dadabhai, posting him with the latest developments and so on. And when Gandhiji goes to South Africa in 1906, November, then he goes to see Lord Elgin, the Secretary of State for Colonies, about one ordinance which is being proposed in Transvaal. And Dadabhai goes with him.
Okay.
And Dadabhai goes with him. That is, Dadabhai is already in London. He accompanies Gandhiji to see the Secretary of State for Colonies. And Dadabhai warns the Secretary of State for Colonies that British administration will be disgraced if the oppression of Indians continues. So he was a blunt speaker. Dadabhai was a blunt speaker. And of course, that was November 1906, and the very next month, Dadabhai comes to India to preside over the Calcutta Indian National Congress, where Dadabhai makes this statement from the presidential platform of the Congress for the first time, defining the national objective as Swaraj.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and the very next year, in South Africa also, Gandhiji gets radicalized because the jail going starts in South Africa. Gandhiji's jail going, all the satyagraha actually starts in, although the resolution for the possibility of the satyagraha is already made in September 1906 in South Africa.
But how did Britishers responded to kind of politics that Dadabhai did? Inside the parliament, outside the parliament, and he was also
They were-
presiding over Indian National Congress, which was opposed to, in certain way, to Britishers.
See, the British administration had a they weren't quite clear about how to handle Dadabhai's critiques.
And what was his
Because,
constituency like?
let me
Sorry,
just,
sorry.
it was Central Finsbury in London,
Yeah.
where he stood from.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that Dadabhai, the important thing about Dadabhai's critiques is that they are all based on official statistics. He has always gathered material from either from the British provinces in India, the British provincial records, or from the government in England. Since everything is based on their own records, they can't question his data. And therefore, they do not quite know what to do about it, except that they have to respond to it, and they set up. So whenever he asks for a commission to be set up or so on to inquire into something, sooner or later that is set up. And then another thing about Dadabhai was that he had a lot of British friends. He was because there were after all many Britishers who were sympathetic to Indian aspirations. And even before Dadabhai became a member of parliament in Britain, there was a gentleman, Henry Fawcett. Henry Fawcett was an economist, and he was blind. Very early in his life he had become blind, but he was a member of parliament. So elected from within England, but very sympathetic to Indian causes. So when even before Dadabhai became member of parliament, because of Henry Fawcett's taking up Indian causes, sometimes in collaboration with Dadabhai and based on Dadabhai's inputs, Henry Fawcett was known as the member for India.
Okay.
Because he was always taking up Indian causes. So there were so many of these allies and friends which Dadabhai had in England. And it was his method that was what is unique about Dadabhai, that he takes people from British society along with him also. And that's how he gets elected to the British House of Commons. So, of course, there are people who are quite upset. And since Dadabhai's critique is based primarily on the British administration of here, the British administrators here are very irritated with him.
Right.
So, for example, the governor of Bombay at the time when Dadabhai got elected to the British Parliament, he wrote a very nasty letter to the Secretary of State in England, saying how disgusted he was with the fact that Dadabhai had been elected a member of the British Parliament, because he felt that they were here to rule us. And how is it that an Indian has come to rule, be part of the ruling institution of Britain itself?
Right.
So there was a lot of irritation with, but in spite of that, Dadabhai, excuse me, didn't mince any words.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
So as you said that he, for the first time almost, pronounced the idea of Swaraj, that we want Swaraj in the long run. So what was his idea of Swaraj in 1906?
That's very interesting. It was not that he used the word Swaraj for the first time.
Yeah.
There were others who were talking about Swaraj also. But the significance of Dadabhai
Talking about it.
using it from the presidential platform of the Congress
Yeah.
and saying that our object is Swaraj is that the significance is that it gets defined as a national objective from the platform, from the presidential platform of the Congress for the first time with Dadabhai. Now the question is, what did Dadabhai mean by it? Earlier, if you see his earlier presidential addresses in 1886, Calcutta, or 1893, Lahore, he's seeking some kind of representation. He's seeking an Indianization of the civil service. He's seeking separation of the judiciary from the executive. So he's seeking an independent judiciary and all that. He's seeking control over taxation and so on. But when it comes to 1906, his presidential address, he's seeking something much more.
Mm-hmm.
He, till then, we had in India been talking at best about the kind of status which other British colonies had.
Within the Commonwealth, kind of, or dominion.
There was no Commonwealth.
Yeah, there was no Commonwealth, but
the concept of dominion status had not yet been born.
Mm-hmm.
That came after Ireland's Statute of Westminster, which comes later in the 20th century. But they were seeking a kind of status till then of other self-governing colonies of England. But Dadabhai's speech, he says that, but then he adds, in 1906, he says, the status of the United Kingdom itself. That is, he is seeking he's seeking the same autonomy, the same self-rule which exists in the UK itself. He says that, and that is what really made his speech so distinctive, because what he's reaching the point where the link with the empire is now confined virtually to the crown itself. Because once you say that you want the same status as the UK, then, and you say, and he's not at this stage saying, because he's a very practical man, he is not at this stage saying that I want to break with the crown. So if you take the two positions together, he is virtually seeking the position of the British Parliament.
Yeah.
So he is seeking a sort of self-governing legislature for India, which has the same status as the British Parliament.
Yeah.
So it's actually an amazing advance over what had been thought of till then.
Right. So we are now in 2026, and there is a kind of a program of obliterating history from the minds or memories of the people on a very vast scale. So there are different ways in which even Mahatma Gandhi's memory or Mahatma Gandhi's contribution is interpreted these days. So Dadabhai is even prior to Mahatma Gandhi. So how would you look at it? I mean, about this program, and how would you?
Well, you see, we'll come to this aspect of it. First, let me say that if you look at Gandhiji's movements after Gandhiji comes back to India, Gandhiji was a close student of Dadabhai.
Mm-hmm.
And Dadabhai's influence, as I said, on the Indian national thinking was immense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dadabhai's critique of the British governmental system in India was related to their revenue methods, taxation methods, their bureaucracy, and the way the judiciary was run, and so on. Now, if you look at all the struggles and democratic rights, so if you look at the struggles which Gandhiji launches after coming back, they are related to, if you look at Bardoli, Khera, Bardoli again, they are
Champaran, for that matter.
Champaran. He starts with Champaran. The entire focus on peasants.
Yes.
It traces back to Dadabhai.
Yeah.
So, given all that, and many people do not realize that when Gandhiji starts the salt satyagraha, that people are at that time, many were surprised. How is he chosen the question of salt duty to? Now, Dadabhai has said as early as 1871 that the salt tax must go.
Salt tax must go. Yes.
So, this is what Dadabhai is saying as early as 1871, and that statement is in Poverty and Un-British Rule in India
the book
also.
that you talked about.
Yes. So Gandhiji calls himself a disciple of Dadabhai, and being a disciple, he has read all this. So when he takes up salt, it is something which is in his mind for a long time. In fact, in 1919 or thereabouts, sometime then, he appoints two persons. He designates two young persons, relatively young persons, to study the salt tax. And he writes to the Commissioner of Excise and Salt that I have asked these two persons to study the salt tax, and you will please make available all documents and data to them for this purpose. So, therefore, this is something which is already there for a long time in Gandhiji's mind. And another thing I should mention, there was, since I am speaking in Pune, there was a Maharashtrian, Sakharam Deoskar, who had settled in Bengal.
Yes.
And this Sakharam Deoskar had combined some of Dadabhai's writings, some of Ramesh Chandra Dutt's writings, and some of William Digby's writings. William Digby was another great friend of India, and brought them out together in a compilation in Bengali. And that book had become so popular that Sri Aurobindo wrote about it, saying that this book became a great impetus for the Swadeshi Andolan of 1905. So you see that Dadabhai has this vast influence on even not the Swadeshi Andolan. And and Jawaharlal ji says that Ramesh Chandra Dutt, William Digby, Dadabhai Naoroji were a great, they had a revolutionary influence on our freedom struggle. There was a socialist I used to know, who is dead now, Brij Mohan Tufan. And he said in his autobiography that he read Dadabhai in Urdu. He was born in Sialkot, and Punjab, sometime in the early 1920s, and he had read Dadabhai in Urdu. Then there are there's another work of Dadabhai's in Gujarati, which is based on Poverty and Un-British Rule. It's called Hindustani Garibai, something like that. Then there is another work in Marathi
also is there,
which came out in the start of the non-cooperation movement in 1920. It's in Marathi. So Dadabhai's influence was vast, and it's not easy for anyone to erase it because these are substantial things, and these insubstantial effect. There are so many so much braggadocio, going on in the political field today, but it these are hot air balloons. You know, these are there's a lot of hot air, and it lasts only so long as a certain part of the media is controlled by certain groups. But I don't see it lasting for a long time, because ultimately they come up with reality. Now, Dadabhai's whole struggle is for the economic sovereignty of India, for the economic, you know, he criticizes British accounts. He says that wars that are being fought in Africa are
They
being
are affecting,
attributed to
yeah.
the Indian account. Some party is taking place in Turkey, in London, and some Turkish man is visiting, and some potentate from Turkey, and that expenditure is being
Expenditure
put
is
on
being
the
put on
Indian account,
Indians,
and so on.
yes.
So these kind of things Dadabhai has pointed out, and these extra. Now, this whole struggle is about what? It is about India's pride, India's economic sovereignty. Now, today, uh, that is under challenge. So, that can't be met by braggadocio. It has to be met by substance. And that substance is to be found in Gandhi, in Nehru, in Dadabhai, in M.G. Ranade, in R.C. Dutt. You know, ultimately these are the rocks on which India is going to have to build its economic sovereignty, not on hot air. So ultimately we have to go back to this, once this phase, and this balloon will I mean, no balloon is forever, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So these
So hopefully this period will be over sometime in near future. And as you are saying, Mr. Nauriya is quite optimist that whatever things are going on today to obliterate whatever memories of or contributions of our freedom fighters, that will not last long, and will realize, the future generations will realize the true legacy which began, as he explained quite elaborately, from people like Dadabhai Naoroji, and will carry it forward in, I mean, it was carried forward by, say, Mahatma Gandhi and others.
Gokhale.
Ranade and others, even Nehru for that matter. So, on this note, I suppose we should conclude this debate. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Nauriya.
you very much. It was an honor
Yeah.
to be here.